It's Ron Reader digs the universe. I'm Ron Reader, and this is Ron Reader Digs the Universe, and tonight, notes on masculinity. I've avoided this topic for some years simply because masculinity is an incredibly slippery, vague, and inexact idea. Everybody seems to know exactly what they're talking about when they discuss masculinity, but as far as I can tell, nobody's got a clue. I mean, I don't either, but not knowing what you're talking about, given the overall situation, appears to be the foremost qualification for discussing masculinity, so why not jump into this? Because even though I greatly like being a man, but have no idea what masculinity means exactly, tonight I'm simply gonna make some observations and offer a little bit about my own ideas, okay? That's kind of unmasculine, isn't it? Admitting to uncertainty, not taking a strong stand. Well, it is what it is. Observation number one. White people. We are in the midst of a continuing 4-decade freakout concerning masculinity pushed by white conservatives responding to feminist social gains in the 1970s. Particularly evangelicals who have roped themselves to deeply patriarchal Bronze Age misogynistic Old Testament masculine notions like, owning women and blaming them for their sexuality and freedom or whatever. Totally fucked up, and also bewildering because they're like trapped in the 70s or something, and it becomes ever weirder. Tucker Carlson pushing testicle tanning, Andrew Tate pushing the notion of all alpha males all the time, racist Nick Fuentes wanting to burn women. Ending abortion rights is so far the nadir of this freak out, but they still freak out. I think this shit makes even white moderates and liberals a bit nervous about their manhood too. It's just so intense, and I think it's gonna get worse. Observation number two, people of color. We have in this country a lingering sense of machismo in communities founded by immigrants from what my educational psychology professor would call old cultures. It appears at first glance to be anti-women, deeply ingrained, and every bit as slippery and vague as it is in the dominant American culture. At worst, this manifests as honor killings, but at best it manifests as dedicated family men. Overall, this kind of masculinity is as bewildering to me as anything white people have asserted on the topic. I think this is a good place also to mention documentarian Ken Burns' explanation in his series on jazz of how black musicians started calling each other man, as in, hey man, what's happening? Because racist whites had for so long and so consistently called black men boy, saying man to each other became a sign of resistance and liberation. I mean, just listen to Muddy Waters doing mannish boy. Manhood in the black community is historically and necessarily tied to recognizing the full humanity of black people. But that has also caused some problems for gay black men, as discussed in J.L. King's 2004 book On the Down Low, exploring the world of black men who have sex with men but do not identify as gay. Indeed, that brings me to observation number 3, the gay and transgender challenge. For my money, the community that has the best intuitive grasp of masculinity is gay men. I mean, just think about it. When your ideas about love and romance, which are traditionally very gendered, challenge the so-called norm, you have to think about it, well, all the time. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just dig up an old Village People video, YMCA, and check that out. Trans people are also in a very, very similar situation, perhaps even more so. Their physical bodies, indeed their very identities, become cultural battlegrounds over masculinity, and the results of that are often devastating. And that brings me to my fourth observation: queer theory. Coming out of 1990's University Gay Studies program, this is the scholarly deep thinking and discussion on these issues that society seemingly abhors. I only know a wee bit about queer theory, but I do know that it's the gold standard. It's legit, and that it offers strong arguments on gender, real arguments, not the shit asserted by evangelicals and other freaks. It's like quantum physics for me. I get the gist of entanglement, but not the mathematics. I trust the physicists to get it right, just as I trust the queer theorists to get it right. I completely defer to this field, and anybody with knowledge in this area, well, feel free to correct me or add to anything I've said in this episode down in comments. In the end, my own personal take on masculinity is highly influenced by Susan Faludi's book, Stiffed, wherein she asserts that the successful utilitarian masculinity of the Great Depression and World War II has been incrementally eroded by capitalism, forcing, essentially, male drones into ever-increasing meaningless, resulting in macho, pointless, ornamental masculinity, something that men drape over themselves and wear, parade around for others to see. You know, big trucks getting jacked. Anyway, Phil Donahue and Alan Alda have long been personal male role models to me. I'm Ron Reeder, and this has been Ron Reeder Digs the Universe. Join me, Ron Reeder, again next week for another episode of Ron Reeder Digs the Universe.